from Namibia.
Thank you very much.
I've taken my time to look at your CV and to see some of the things you've done before you became the Deputy Finance Minister. You have been in the Parliament, so you seem to have gone through all of it, both executive and parliamentary position, which is quite interesting. And also your country is also doing very well in the global space. I was looking at your ranking some years back, it was 8. Now you guys are in number 6. So you are actually competing with Rwanda, where we talk about Rwanda being over 60%. So this is quite interesting. So we would like to know what are the factors responsible for this transformation for Namibia. Can you let us know what made Namibia different and why the country is leading?
Thank you very much. I think, first of all, let me congratulate the governor. He's doing a great job. I want to say that it took one man, our president then, because you can take decisions. There was a Congress resolution, but the implementation took us 10 years. And it was this one man that stood up and said, let's do it now. So I think the cooperation between men and women to work as a team is very important, and I must compliment the efforts of the First Ladies, what they have done. We have learned a lot from their efforts. But what I want to also add is that what is important is the inclusion of the rural women. Because we would agree that the majority of women are in the rural space and are in our domestic space. So I think there was also somebody who said other women, and I think it is important that we start immediately around ourselves, not only for our children, but also for our domestic assistants. But what Namibia did is, of course, we have a gender ministry, which you have, and we have sensitized around the issues of gender parity. I think the lesson is in that we, through engagement and consultation, you literally move for a paradigm shift, that you take society along. Because if we impose and if we demonstrate and we demand, I think it will become confrontational and you would not have the desired outcome. But it is best if we engage, and I must compliment men that take time to sit into the women discussion, because we need the men around the table to realize that we need to share the space around the main table for women to participate. Also important in Namibia is that in the corporate space, we have women that have taken the lead. On most of our banks, I think more than 60% of our banks, executive directors are female.
I'm going to come to that because I think that's important about financial inclusion. Please a round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes,
and I also have got one of my business ladies that have joined on their own cost just to show solidarity. Please, can you stand up?
Thank you very much for coming.
Delilah, the whole Namibian delegation, please.
I think there is a lot to learn about financial inclusion, so I know that you have that. So I have that as a second question for you. But I want to move to Kenya first, and I come back to you. Thank you very much, Ma. Kenya, there seems to have been a lot of improvement since 2010 when the constitution was amended, and there's this that they call the gender rule. I could recall some times ago I was in Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria. We had a study on leadership, and I think Ajia Sadatu was also involved in that. And we're asking ourselves, question, how are we going to get there? But it looks like Kenya seems to have gone faster. Currently, you have over 6 female governors in Kenya. So what really happened? Thank you. Kenya?
Thank you. Thank you, moderator. It hasn't been easy for us. It has been a long journey, since independence. But you see, even from independence in our country, there were women who are still in the forest fighting. So what has really helped is that we have trailblazers. We have women who've been persistent and consistent in the fight for the rights of women. And it's not easy, because if you even remember, there's a time women were forced to undress in one of our parks to prove a point that men cannot do this to women. However, what is so good for us is because most of our asks as women are now in the Constitution. Our Kenyan Constitution 2010 was groundbreaking, because it is law that you must have 2/3 of either gender in anything that you do. It also brought in the setting up of commissions, like the commission I belong to. The commissions are very instrumental in running matters gender, like the National Gender and Equality Commission. We are appointed by the president, yes, but that's where his powers over us end. Immediately we take office, we are like under an act of parliament. To remove us from office would take a parliamentary session. So it's very difficult. And what powers do the commission like the one I work for have? Our mandate is to ensure inclusion, to ensure no woman is left behind, to ensure that we bring up our grassroots women, because the backbone of Kenya as a country is women. They're the ones who run everything. They run farming, they run, they're in business, they're in corporate, they're in every place. But you find, like now, our commission, we have the mandate to even take people to court. And we have lawyers in the commission. We learned, like now, that Equity Bank, one of our biggest banks in the country, was paying women in the same position less than men. So for us, we had to take equity to court. And one thing which has become very important in Kenya is the rule of law. And it's respected, because even like, if I mention 20th, when we were celebrating our heroes, the president himself said he could not introduce universal health care without making it a policy and a law. Because Kenyans have come to learn that with law you can go to court and win a case. Yeah, so that is what is very strong for us.
Thank you very much, Kenya, for that experience. I'm still going to come back to the rule of law, particularly with respect to the gender rule, because at the point in time, Kenya was not able to meet up with that 2/3 rule. So maybe when I come back, you can explain to us more and what is happening at the Supreme Court. So talking about law, I also know that Nigeria recently had gone to court to raise the issue of the national gender policy. And my sister Mufliat Fujabi has actually done a lot. She's one of the plaintiffs in that regard. So I would ask, as someone who has also worked with Nigerian Women Trust Fund, and the focus of Nigerian Women Trust Fund is basically to promote participation of women. What do you see? What is happening in Nigeria? Thank you, Mufliat.
Okay, thank you very much. In terms of gender and inclusion in Nigeria, I think that we see some hope in the future, but when we look at now, it's like it's not looking very well. But if we have the example of what we've seen after the 2023 general elections, with the number of women in parliament in Kwara State representing the north, and in Ekiti representing the south of Nigeria, that to some extent gives me hope that we can actually get there with political will, with commitment. And speaking about the judgment, that we had around the national gender policy, which the Nigerian Women Trust Fund coordinated while I was there, it's also a signal that if the judgment is upheld, and if the judgment is implemented, especially now that it has been revised and it's looking good, with the need for the government to obey its own policy. What it means is that at the state level, at the local government level, at the national level, all stakeholders have a document to work with. So it's not a case of we don't know where to go to when we talk about the need to adopt a gender strategy or to reposition women. We already have the national gender policy. It's been in existence since 2006. It was only revised in 2022. So why are we not implementing it? And the fact that we have these two states, Kwara and Ekiti, with the number of women in the houses of assembly, what it means is that it is achievable in terms of appointive positions as well, and in terms of the necessary tools that we need to deploy in ensuring that we have a gender balance. Staying behind in terms of gender balance will not help us. And for us to achieve that, there is need to obey the court judgment. There is need to fully fund the Ministry of Women Affairs, that is the custodian of the national gender policy. Without that funding, it will not work. We'll keep deceiving ourselves and think that things are working well. So I'm glad that we have quite a number of stakeholders here. And I'm also using this platform, to get the government to be responsive, in terms of saying that this kind of policy is implemented to the core. If we do this, we'll have less women who are not economically empowered. The policy is not just about appointive position. It's about technology, it's about economy, it's about health, it's about every aspect that imparts on the lives of Nigerian women. We will not have a situation whereby, according to UNICEF, on October 11, Nigeria, is taking 15% of the global percentage of out-of-school girls. This is not a good percentage. What it means is that if that commitment is there, we'll be able to build and lay the necessary foundations for our young girls. They are going to be the women of tomorrow.
Thank you.
And if we have them out of school, it's going to be a problem. I was going to challenge respectfully our Gombe First Lady, for the young girl that was not allowed to return to school. I was going to ask Gombe, how far with the Child Rights Act? Why is a father compelling a girl to be out of school, and a brilliant girl, for example? I tried to quickly Google on my phone to see whether Gombe has adopted the child rights. It's not very clear on the Google, but if it hasn't done that, I think if we have such policies in place, it's going to make that father to be taken to a legal court of law for proper prosecution. Because what is the offense of a young girl? Why would she not be in school? The father should be sent to jail for doing that. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think that if I can recall very well, I think there was even a time when Gombe actually made a law that any child that is found not going to school, that they should pick up the parents. So I don't know whether that law is still very efficient. Maybe there is a need to go back to some of those steps to be able to keep girls in school. Thank you very much, Mufliat. I'm going back to our firebrand sister, Yemi Adenuga from Highland. She's a councillor. You had spoken earlier, and I was really inspired by your conversation around solidarity. Can you let us understand the kind of solidarity that brought you in as councillor and that is still sustaining you? And a lot of people are talking about the wonderful things that you are doing, mentoring and all of that. Can you just lead us more into that you gave us in the morning?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon once again, everyone. I suppose I was referring to being able to be open to collaborating, to partnerships, and to recognizing that we're not an island as women. We need allyship. And, men have to understand, men who are going to become our allies, they have to understand that allyship is not rosy. Allyship is not cozy. For anyone who wants to become an ally, they have to understand, because they're going to be standing up to support what we are challenged with. So they have to be willing then to stand and say, I recognize these issues and I'm willing to be the one to address these issues. That's allyship. And it's not easy, right? So, and that's why I suppose everyone is commending the governor of Kwara State. That's serious allyship there, stepping forward. And that's part of what happened in Ireland. where you have organizations that were willing to become allies for migrants in Ireland. So I wasn't just running as a woman, I was also running as a migrant. So some would have thought, oh, that's tokenism. The party wanted to tick the box. But call it tokenism if you like. My decision was, I'll show you what a real token looks like. You don't put me there as a token and then I'll act as a token, right? So even if we feel that women are put forward as tokens, we take the position and we show them what it means to be a woman in power. We go and win those seats. So that was key. And another thing then was, I looked at what I already had. I'm director of programs for a training institute called MIB Institute of People Development. I'm a people development strategist. I build people. So becoming a politician does not remove that from me. It actually adds value to who I am already. So before you become a politician, you were somebody. How do you bring that on to becoming a politician? Look, if we want more women, we have to answer the question, why do we want more women in politics? It's not to tick the box. It's not to enable someone's gender agenda. It's to politic differently. That's the key. We have to be clear, right? And I'll give you a key example. Our minister, my party has had the chance to appoint the Minister for Justice for the Republic of Ireland, a fantastic woman, Helen McEntee, who changed the temperature. I mean, like, we're women, we come into a room, we're not thermostat, we're not thermometers, we're thermostats. Thermometers take on the temperature of the room. Thermostats coming and change the temperature. That's what we are. So this woman came in, right, to Parliament in Ireland, and she'd been in politics before, but she wanted to do things differently. And in Ireland, we did not have any legislation enabling women who are in the parliament or at any sphere of politics to take maternity leave. Would you believe? In a place like Ireland, European country, in 2023, politicians cannot take maternity leave, female politicians. She didn't argue. What did she do? She negotiated with the men. They hold the power, don't they? There was no fighting, there was no argument. She collaborated with organizations that were pushing the female agenda and negotiated with the men who held the power, right? And today, she's the first woman in Irish history who has had a child while in power and took 6 months maternity leave. And she wanted to make sure that that was clear to everyone. She got pregnant the second time, had a child, went again 6 months. Those are the kind of things that enabled me get there. And in being there then, in order to be able to sustain that, because it's lonely at the top, I don't want to be the only black woman who is in politics in Ireland. What I did was started to build enabling circumstances for women. Like I said before, I'm a people development strategist. So I use the benefit of my training institute to set up political leadership training program for migrants who were interested in politics. And I said, by force, by fire, you will run. I've seen you, I know you're capable, and you will run. And I have to say, the first cohort of that program ran in 2021. And I'm proud to say today that of the people who ran in that program, at least 12 of them are registered with political parties in Ireland today. And at least 6 of them have been selected to run in the next local elections next year.
Thank you very much. A round of applause. Thank you so much. Why do we want more women? Is it to just tick the box or to make a shift? And that's an interesting question. Now, I want to go back to Namibia. While looking at your CV, I noticed that you have been doing a lot around bank. You were a head of a bank, you were into enterprise, you were into a lot of things that has to do with developing the economy of Namibia. I want to ask you about gender mainstreaming and financial inclusion. How did that go in Namibia, and how did that contribute to the ranking of Namibia today? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think the first important thing to understand is that governments need to be gender sensitive in budgeting, but we must also take note that it is a cross-cutting issue and not only an issue for the Ministry of Gender. But what we do specifically especially for the rural women, is through the Ministry of Gender, We have loan schemes that starts as small as $100, equivalent of $100, to enable rural women to start to borrow and to access financing. And what we also do, and of course it goes up to, should I say, 1,000. That is for the ministry because it is the microfinancing part. And you can get into that without any history of saving and what have you. We also do have a housing scheme, housing credit scheme, where women save and then are able to borrow against, not against their saving, but they have to prove that you can develop a saving culture and then you can access financing to enable them to build a house, because we have a lot of houses that are female-headed households and child-headed households. Another aspect, of course, of financial inclusion is also that it's the Ministry of Finance. We have built platforms for financial literacy, focusing on young people, on women, and also at school-going age. That is to expose people at an early age to financial planning. And mind you, Nigeria, I know, is a cash country. In our world, we are credit-based financing. Everything goes on account. And the interest rates are very high. So financial education is very important. But we have also credit schemes where government gives guarantee for bigger loans. And especially with the COVID setbacks, we have special programs for economic revitalization that we finance, assist banks to then loan money to the company, individuals that had those economic setbacks. But I must say that we still have to do assessment to ensure that it reaches the intended beneficiaries, because our system is also a bit different, because we are coming from an apartheid system. The financial institutions especially is used to privilege, to benefit the most privileged, mainly the whites, and therefore there's a lot of entry barriers that are built in. So as government, we have to engage to ensure and intervene where necessary. We're also looking at an aspect of financial ombudsman to see how we can, because with digital economy, first of all, increase in digital crimes are increasing, people are losing money, and I think it is important that we develop confidence in the system by having a reference point where people can go for inquiry. So we have multifaceted interventions, cross-cutting, like I said, through other ministries.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, that's a round of applause, a round of applause. Yeah, thank you very much. And so it's a society that is gendered anyway, so that's why you can see that the conversation is to ensure a mainstream in their economic intervention, in Namibia. We have a prime minister, it's a woman, and we have quite a number of women who are in the government of Namibia.
And our future president is a woman.
And they are already telling us that with the zebra system, so the future president is a woman. So the future of Namibia is woman. A round of applause. Thank you very much. So I'll go back to Kenya. I know that reading about some of the things happening in Kenya, the Supreme Court at a point in time made some orders to ensure that there is implementation of the two-third rule, because there were challenges, to be able to make up that gender role. And of course, that takes me back to the question of where are the women? So was it that situation in Kenya? And I want you also to take that with being the head of the Gender Commission in Kenya to lead us into some of the policies, that is supporting gender equality in Kenya.
Thank you once again. let me start with the Supreme Court. That's our highest court. The beauty of it all now is the president of the Supreme Court is a woman. It's Martha. And she's the one who even sat in judgment, because once, during the presidential elections last year, there was a complaint from the opposition, and she had to sit and give judgment. And the beauty in Kenya is our judgment takes like, at the most, 3 weeks. Everybody, even in the villages, even the local woman, they know and look. And we are so good at artificial intelligence that even the mamas who sell the burgers by the roadside, they have a phone. And they know how to access data, they know how to access things, and they know how to keep in touch. So, like that time, everybody knew that within 3 weeks, the Chief Justice, Martha, the President of the Supreme Court, would come out and tell us the findings. And Kenyans have very strong support for the rule of law. Once the judgment was made, the opposition leaders may continue to complain, but the majority of Kenyans went back to their work and wait for the next 5 years. So that is one. The two-third gender rule has been elusive in being made into law. Why? Like we have said, Africa is a patriarchal society, isn't it? It is a patriarchal society. We cannot run away from that. However, how do you get the men to listen to you? In Kenya, the women are very good at negotiating. I've heard the word negotiation. Yes, they are very good at negotiating. So what happened in the last presidential term, the 2 terms of Uhuru Kenyatta, we were not able to make it a law. Because every time people went to parliament, the men were in the majority, they voted against it. And they said, it's something concerning women, we won't vote for it. So this time, the president is very much for women. That was one of his campaign tags. And like I said, in Kenya, women are the driving force. To get into parliament, you must have women behind you. And it's not these women I'm seeing here. It's that mama in the village. She must be supporting you. And we empower women very much. So what is happening now, because it's going to be passed before the end of the year, we had to negotiate with the Senate. The Senate, they want to be given a fund to be using as senators. So we've said as women, if we give you this fund, then you give us the two-third gender rule. So that is what is going to happen. We'll give the senators their fund, but we'll have the two-third gender rule, which is a milestone because it means that women are protected in all areas. However, we've made a lot of progress. We have 7 women governors now from the last elections. We have 4 senators. We have about 100 and something women in parliament. So we are getting there. But like I said, it's the rule of law. And also, our women campaign, if I want a seat today, I must remove all this beautiful paraphernalia, stop putting makeup on my face, tie a shuka, and go to the grassroots. Talk to the women as one of them. If they tell me, sit here and drink uji, that is porridge, I have to do that. We sit with them, we talk with them, and that is the only way in Kenya you can win. Because the women are the ones who lead, and you have to be one of them. And another thing that I would like the women of Nigeria to take home, support fellow women. Don't look at women as adversaries. Stop looking at your sister as competition. She is not competition. The other thing, by being a leader or a woman in a position, I've watched the governor's spouses. I was a governor's spouse, the first governor of Nyeri County. If you look at women, you have to respect the men. Humility is strength that is silent. Any woman worth their salt knows you get things done in your house through humility. It is the strongest way of getting the men to do what you want them to do. So women, use that which God gave you. Use it. Don't be confrontational with the men. It will never work. But if you approach a man in a nice way and talk and say, look, they will listen to you. So basically, that is what we are doing in Kenya. The Gender Commission, like I said, its mandate is inclusion and making sure no one is left behind. The beauty of our commission is we are given mandate by the parliament, only that you're appointed by the president, and it ends there. We can take to the president to task. We write advisories to him. Like now there's one recent one that we wrote on the ethnic minorities and marginalized communities in our country. That is the tribes that are very small, maybe they have one member of parliament. We want to see how they can be better represented. We also want to see how more women can come into parliament. And since the president promised 50-50 and it's still not 50-50, we are almost 50-50 by the fact that in our country there's that law that as you elect a member of parliament, there's a seat reserved in every constituency for women. So we have 47 seats in our 47 counties. Only a woman can take that seat.
Reserved seats.
Yes, and that was done to have more women in parliament. So I would tell the Nigerian women, remember your sisters. They're not your competitors. They are not your adversaries. They are your sisters. Give them support and join and be behind them. And never laugh at a woman when her clothes are down. Get a shuka and put it around them. That's what we say in Kenya.
The shuka is the rapper.
Yes, it's a rapper.
And the author of rapper is sitting here.
Yes.
You need to wrap the other woman. Thank you very much. This is we are learning. Thank you, Kenya. I go back to Nigeria. We have had so much, and we are still processing the lessons. One of the things that had come out from the two conversations is the importance of the rule of law. If you don't have it in the Constitution, it's not law yet. So I know that there have been efforts in the past, and if we throw it back since 1999, women have been organizing to ensure that some of these issues are integrated in the Constitution so that we also have a basis, upon which we can hold the government accountable. But it's been a very long, tortuous journey. My sister, you've been involved in this process. Do you think do you think we are not doing it well? Do you think there are other ways that we need to, given all the lessons that we have learned? We have heard about negotiation. We have heard about other strategies. So what do you think will be the best strategy for Nigeria?
Actually, in my own assessment, with the 5 gender bills that were returned just before the elections last year, I think that we need to re-strategize to be better positioned. And if it's about working with women, if it's about working with men, some men were part of the sponsors of the 5 gender bills last year. Even at the highest level, we had the first ladies going into the National Assembly pleading. We thought we had done our best. We were very hopeful that the bills would get into the Constitution until we were turned down. Even the days and weeks spent at the gate of the National Assembly, the men just drove past us. And some of them had the courage to address us, but for me, I think that we need to go back to the drawing board. We will not give up, because if we do not have accurate legal framework we may not have anything to fall back to. And with the legal framework, it's also going to be easy, and with the Constitution, to have political will to be pushed to support those clauses when they become part of the Constitution. And I completely agree with my sister from Kenya that we need to renegotiate. We need the support of men to be able to do this. Men need to understand that when we speak about gender, it's not about women. It's about what will be good for the country as a whole, needing the contribution and support of both women and men. And we cannot advance development when we have women down. We can only advance development when men and women, benefit from the process, that has given rise to what we call a nation. It means that the decision-making process needs to be truly inclusive. So we need those clauses in the Constitution. The question of the additional seats is also important. We have seen it work in other parts of the country, and that's why we push for it here in Nigeria. We're hopeful that as the National Assembly fully settles down, they will have all the necessary time to listen to all of these clauses that we are asking for, because it's going to make the country to be part of the very important nations in the world, that respects gender equality, that respects gender balance, and that looks at the future that will bring about a Nigeria that is peaceful. So the political will would always be a source of reference all the time. The stakeholders must understand that if there is no commitment, as we have seen, in the states that we've given examples of, it cannot happen. So the political will is also important. The
political will is important, and we had Namibia saying political will, and Kenya had also talked about political will from the highest, from the top. Yeah, so we need political will. I'm going back to you then before I go back to the audience, because we want this to also be very interactive. A lot of issues have been raised, and we know we have just 1 hour, so we have about 20 minutes to wrap this up. So I want to quickly ask you, you talked about the fact that when you were contesting, you didn't have the support from the black community. And I just imagine there are also a lot of time when people go into election, and people that you think would be able to stand behind you and support you, they are not there. How were you able to get by, and how were you able to sustain your relationship with them despite the fact that that support was not there? If you can say that briefly. I know people have more questions for you. Yes.
Absolutely. At the very beginning, like you said, there are expectations. When you are running in whatever position, you expect that there are certain people who will be right there. They're guaranteed. You have their support. But when that doesn't happen, you have a huge wave of disappointment running through you. So I did have that. There were some people that I expected from the black community to be supportive. And I'll be very clear about the level of support I was talking about. I asked, what exactly did I do? Because I wanted to know, because there will be other elections. So, and I'm not delusional. I'm one who's always very honest with myself. Maybe I was doing something without realizing that I was doing it, that gave them an impression of who I was not. So I wanted to be able to correct that. So I asked, what did I do? And you'll be shocked, the first response I got. It was a lady who was willing to share, and she didn't even say it to me. She said it to somebody else, that I did not invite her to my daughter's wedding. This is God's honest truth. And so for that reason, she told other people that I don't invite people to my events. My daughter's wedding, of course, was not an event for public, that kind of thing. So I kind of understood. It gave me perspective as to where people come from when they're thinking, right? And how I could address that. So how did I deal with it? Exactly like my sister from Kenya had mentioned, I took off all my regalia and I went to their level. I said, hey, my sister, me and you, we didn't know each other before that time. Now I know you very, don't worry, next wedding is coming soon. You are my first guest, first special guest. And why am I sharing this? You have to meet people where they are at. We cannot assume that we know what people are looking for. We have to meet them and ask the questions. Meet them where they are, ask the questions and answer the questions. That's one. Number two, so you would expect that because some of them didn't vote for me that I would be upset? Absolutely not. What could I be upset about? We won. We made history. How could I be upset? Regardless of what happened, we still made history. And I still became the first black woman to be elected in Irish political history. So how can I be upset with them? So what I did then was call a meeting, different sets of meetings. And I spoke to them and I said, now I'm your counselor. Whatever the issues, it does not matter. Come to me. Don't even think twice. So I'm serving my community and I'm also serving the people who at the beginning, not that they didn't believe in me, of course they knew I was well enough, I was qualified enough to run, but they had their personal reasons. And I'm serving them now. And I tell you, these people are in the forefront of canvassing for me for the next elections. Because now they know that the agenda is not about me. And I'll perhaps finish off on this note, something that I've been talking about for a long time. We're asking to have more women in politics, but we have had some women in politics in times past. What legacies have they left behind for other women to follow? I have a rule of law that I work with because my vision in life is to build people and to ensure that I am an encounter. When people meet me, they have to leave me feeling better than when they first met me. And I bring that into politics, right? You cannot come to me and have an issue. I'm very practical. I'm a counselor on the ground, on the local. I listen, I have my ears to the ground. I hear what the people need. Whether you're green, black, white, purple, it does not matter. I'm there to serve you. So for me, what was key was ensuring that if I do, for any reason, I decide I'm not in politics anymore, or if I don't win, there are no guarantees, just so we know, I would have left a legacy of people who can win. And so there's that godmotherism. In Nigeria, we are fantastic with godfatherism. Love or hate are men in politics. They're great at mentoring men who will take over from them. Whether you like it or not, you have to give that to them. Where are the godmothers? Where are the godmothers? And we have to answer that question. Because power is not forever. Power is transient. You have it today, it's gone tomorrow. But people will remember you not by the money you gave them, because somebody else will give them more than you gave them. If you build them a house, someone will build them a better house. Give them a car, it will crash, they won't remember. But the impact you made in their lives will carry forever, and your name will be on their lips and will transcend generations. So where are the women who were in politics who can say, or who can be said of them, that but for her, I wouldn't be sitting here? We need to see, if those women exist, we need to see more of them, right? And we need to continue to encourage ourselves to hold the hands of our women. I'm so delighted when I heard my Kenyan sister say, we are not each other's competition. We are each other's superpowers.
We are the sisters.
We must remember that. And become a godmother. Enable other women as you go.
Thank you. We're learning a lot today. Thank you. If you are just joining us, this is Voice of Women 2003, and we're discussing repositioning women for greater impact. And we're looking at Nigerian women and 2007. I'm now going to direct this to the audience. We have had fantastic discussion here. I would take 3 comments because of time so that they can have the opportunity of responding back. Okay, there's one hand up there. Can I have another one here? 2. Any third hand on that side, or you quit your right? There's a third one there. Okay, there's a man who wants to ask us a question. All right, so let's start with Namibia. Namibia wants to ask. Okay, yeah. I think you need to come this way. Okay. You can just stand up wherever you are. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I want to ask a question to my sisters from Nigeria. Inclusion has been mentioned. And as a financial services operator in Namibia who does investments, and as an ex-regulator, one of the key things of inclusivity to bring women, the mothers, the mama sitting on the street corner selling candies and fufu and all of those, is a mindset in terms of if you want to be included into the mainstream of policy or products and services that are offered by the financial sector or from the other areas of the government, gender equality, agriculture, all of that, is a matter of fighting for yourself. And the example that my sister from Kenya said goes down to women taking charge, to be included, to be heard on the national level. Now, inclusivity goes with what my other sister said is, where is your mindset, where you want to go? And the question that I have is, I heard the next president of Nigeria being referred to as, the second highest office in Nigeria, to be the vice president of Nigeria, to be a woman. Why not the president? Number one. Why don't you aim for the highest office? And if you measure up to that, then you're automatically going to win. And if you don't win, then the next year, you're going to push even harder. Number two, the governors forum, wives forum. What happens if 5 states of Nigeria, governors becomes women? What forum are they? Are the men, the first men, going to join that forum? The reason I'm asking that question is it gives indication of the system has been set up that all the governors will always be male rather than a woman.
Thank you.
It's a mindset.
Thank you very much. A round of applause. So we need to check the superstructure that's affecting us. So we go to the second person. I'll come back. Yes, ma. I'll come back to you, ma. Yes, second person. No, she's here. She's here. Can someone help us with the mic? She's here, yeah. You have just 9 minutes. Yes.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
I don't know if this is a question or a contribution, but I'll be addressing it to the governor's wives. You see, in Nigeria, I just noticed if you go to the market, we used to have women selling tomatoes, banana, and all the beans and co in the market. If you go to the market now, it's the men that are selling the tomatoes, they are the men selling onions, men are selling the beans. You can only find women selling vegetables. So we have gone back. It's only vegetables that women can sell now. And so I was talking, I asked one Okada man, why is it so? He said, women don't have money anymore. It's men who can buy beans, men who can sell yam. You go now, it's men who are selling yam. So how can women, in fact, we can't do what happened, we can't do what is happening in Namibia, because government does not own anything in Nigeria. We don't own any banks. We don't own, government does not own anything. So how can we put women in those positions? Women can only come in politics, and that is through appointments. I want to thank the governor of Kwara State. I want to thank them for the work they are doing in Kwara State. I want to suggest something. Please, like we have education. You see, there's cut-off points for boys. When I went to school, there was cut-off point for boys and cut-off point for girls. And we still have cut-off point for students from the north and people from the south. Yeah. Please, can we have something for when women go for loan, that there should be, yes.
You have made your point. Thank you very much.
Please,
so
thank
the
you very
last
much.
person, just 1 minute, so that we allow them to respond back in a minute, and Our Excellency would also respond back. Yes, can we have the microphone on this side, please, quickly? Quickly, please. No, yeah, just 1 minute.
Thank you, dear panel. My name is Benson. I'm a journalist from Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Was invited by a friend to this program. And my question is going to our sister Mofiliat, the ED of Sustainable Development. Ma, since after that time that the gender bills were thrown out, what have you people done?
Okay,
Since
thank
then,
you.
up till now. We have not heard anything about
Okay.
it in the media. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. So I will quickly go back first to Excellency before I come back to the panel. Mai, you have 2 minutes. We have just the mic, please, quickly.
Well, thank you very much. I think that was a very interesting panel. And yes, I'm glad that my sisters have stayed the course and are still here. I will answer, first of all, for the person who asked, why are we Nigeria Governors' Wives Forum? And, you know, it's a mindset. It is not a mindset. You've heard, I am the chair of the Nigeria Governors' Wives Forum, and you've heard what is happening in Kwara State. Kwara State today, you know, has, you know, all the women. We have it in selected states. You heard what Her Excellency Ebonyi spoke about, what is happening in Ebonyi. We heard what is happening in Ekiti. So we have some selected states that are doing that. We just need to up our ante and get our gender bills passed and a few other things. Nigeria Governors' Wives Forum, because we actually started as the Nigeria Governors' Wives Against Gender-Based Violence. We started as a response to a condition. We started during the pandemic, when there was a spike. I mean, my former chair is right here. We call her Chair Emeritus before I took over. Now, we started as the Nigeria Governors' Wives Against Gender-Based Violence because there was a spate in gender-based violence during the pandemic. We left that and became the Nigeria Governors' Wives Forum. As we speak, we are changing our name to the Nigeria Governors' Spouses Forum, and that is currently
Thank you very much.
That is currently being done.
All right.
If I may answer the lady who spoke about, I think that
we
is
have 4
important.
minutes.
Okay, because that's also a question to us about there's nothing government does to empower women. In Kwara State, we have the QASIP, and that's the Kwara State Social Investment Program that gives women, you know, money, 30,000, 40,000, targeted at market women, transporters, all the women farmers, and this I know is
I
in
want to
several
come
states.
to this side,
Yeah,
Excellency. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I know that there are questions, particularly for Mufliat, but I will give all of us one minute to talk about your advice in one word. What is your advice for Nigerian women for repositioning ourselves for greater impact?
Thank you very much. I think as a Deputy Minister in the Ministry of Finance and Public Enterprises, I cannot leave the stage without talking about governance issues. I think it is important that as governments, we look at our systems and processes, transparency, and issues of corruption.
Thank you.
Because we are this owning society of what they can benefit if money is applied correctly. Also, a little bit, let's not leave the boy child behind.
Okay, thank you.
Have to
Don't leave the boy child behind. The government must be transparent. Kenya, please.
Yes.
Kenya?
Thank you. Thank you very much. My advice would be to the women who are seeking positions, elective positions. I would like to tell them, one, it's not about you, it's about what you can do for the people. So don't expect for people to go cheering you on. They'll say many bad things. So grow a thick skin, be brave, and go for that which you know will benefit your community and that which you believe in. Shake off the bad things and move forward. And be persistent. Know your ask and know why you want that position. Never agree to be a flower girl to a leader. Always be seen, like the way I've seen the governor's spouses. That was one of the things we had said in 2013 when we took over the new constitution, that governor's spouses are not going to be flower girls just waving. They must have an agenda. So always have an agenda, and remember, your sister, especially the one in the village, is your sister.
All right, thank you, ma'am. So I'll quickly go to Fijabi. Just one sentence. You can respond to the other question later. Just one sentence about repositioning. You can respond after the show. Yes, after the show.
It's important I respond to the gender.
Because we have 1 minute. So just say something that is important.
Okay, for the gender bills, it's because the National Assembly has just, of course, reconvened. I know a lot is going on around that for the bills to be represented, but with better strategy. So it's not, without the National Assembly in place, and you know that this year is a transitional year, we cannot push the gender bill. So, of course, efforts are on ground to make sure that they go back to the National Assembly. And I also want to say that there are lots of mentors here. I'm looking straight at Erelu Bisifayemi, who has been my own mentor and has always been there for me. I see Dame Paulintani, I'm seeing Madam Abdurazak here. There are several mentors, but it's not enough. More women need to become mentors. And it's not just mentorship in politics, but mentorship in development as well. You know, a lot of civil society organizations are also mentoring a lot of young people. So we should keep it up. Thank you
very much. Yeah, okay. So I go, your last word, yes.
Okay, quite a lot has been said. So I suppose maybe one key thing or two that I would add is, first of all, for those who are running or who are intent on running, ask yourself, why am I running? Answer the question of why. It's very, very important. If you're clear on your why, it keeps you going even the times when people come against you or people, you know, put you down. You know why you ran there. And please, your why cannot be because you want to fill gender quota. Please, that cannot be, that's a given, right? But that cannot be your why. And then perhaps finally, learn the art of negotiating. We are born negotiators as women. Do you know the way, if we want to go on holiday somewhere and we are able to convince the men that it was their idea, but we know it was our idea, but in the other room we've been able to tell them that it is their idea through our actions, and then they end up suggesting to us to go to that place, but it was our idea. You get my drift? This is how we have to learn to negotiate. I'm a Yoruba girl, right? And there's a saying in the part of Nigeria, the Yoruba part where I come from. I'll say it and I'll translate. They say, Odi bati owo eni bate kuida. Koto wa shekini. Where are the Yorubas in the room? Koto bere kuto pababaini.
Okay, thank you very much.
The power, then we can make more change.
All right, thank you so much. It's been a very wonderful session, and I must tell you, we have addressed a lot of issues: the issue of institution, system, attitude, structures. But I think most importantly, we have also agreed that there must be a rule of law, and we must have a gendered law. You know, because before Nigerians can hold government accountable, and that's why the issue of gender bills is very important. And also the fact that it's also important for us to build solidarities among ourselves, engage with women in grassroots, so that, you know, they can support women. We have had that kind of support. So sister, it's a pleasure having you on this panel, and I thank you very much. So if you are just joining us, this is Voice of Women 2023, repositioning women for greater impact. Thank you, and God bless you.
Welcome back from the live telecast. We'll now continue with our regular programs. Stay tuned. There is always more to a story than the screaming headline. The part of a story that is not.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
All right, it's midweek edition of Your Business Nigeria. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you at this time. FARC shares now 3.4 billion naira as September revenue to federal government, states and local governments. Pencom recovers 25.13 billion naira on remitted pension contribution from employers as Asian stocks recover on China's spending plans and inflation jolts abuses. Jolts us. In our interview segment today, we will discuss developments around deregulation and pricing The regulation of the downstream sector involved the removal of government control on petroleum product pricing and the removal of restrictions on establishment and operations, including refining jetties and depots. Also, prices are determined by market forces, not by a government template of price interference. And on the second half, we will shift to economic issues raised at the Nigerian Economic Summit Group's conference, and of course, projections for Nigeria's economy. NESG predicted a stronger economic growth in the country for 2023, but emphasized the need for a new approach. Nigeria for the country. Let's see some news before we get talking. The Federal Federation Accounts Allocation Committee has shared a total of 903.48 billion naira for the month of September 2023 for the Federation account to the federal government, states and local government councils. This is contained in a communique issued by FARC at the end of its October meeting held in Abuja.